Welcome to another episode of CrossTalk. My name is Kevin Tocci, and I will be your host for this segment. What do we do? What do we talk about here on CrossTalk? It's an opportunity for you to meet some of the folks who are in and around the two communities that we serve, both Whitman and Hanson. And a lot of times it could be about upcoming events. It could be to get to know individuals, to maybe, what's happening in and around town, maybe a particular issue that we can take a moment to kind of talk about. Today is a very, very special segment. A gentleman who is joining us has served for the past several years as your chairman of the Whitman Select Board, has served many years, not only on the Whitman Select Board, but was also a member of the K through 8 Whitman School Committee until they merged, and it was the Whitman-Hanson Regional. As of this spring, has decided that he was not going to seek re-election. We're talking about a gentleman who fondly likes to stand up at town meeting and let folks know that he's been here since 1972, and he is not a townie, but yet is somebody who has served this community well. We're talking about the one and only Dr. Carl Kowalski. Welcome back to CrossTalk, sir.
Oh, good morning, Kevin.
How are you?
I'm not doing too badly.
How, here you got probably a little less than, about a week until your last
until election day. Yes.
Election day.
Right.
How's it feel?
I had my last official meeting, actually. Yes.
Yeah. I guess you got citations from the State House. Mm-hmm. Talk to us. What went into the decision of deciding that
I was ready to leave?
You're ready to step from the Select Board.
Well, I'm an older gentleman, and every once in a while, I'm afraid of having either Biden moments or Mitchell moments in a public meeting, looking out and not remembering a word or not remembering the name of somebody that I'm talking to. And I didn't want to put the town or myself through that kind of a moment. So I thought it might be time to leave, because another term would be another 3 years. And I thought it was probably a good time to stop doing that.
You've spent many years serving Whitman, whether it was on a school committee or on the Select Board, previously known as Selectmen. What first motivated you to get involved with public service and seek being elected to one of these committees?
Not exactly sure. My first connection with town service was joining the Historical Commission back in the early 80s. I moved to Whitman in 72. Why did I move to Whitman in 72? Because I started working at Massasoit Community College in 1972. My family had sort of a distant connection to Whitman. I had a cousin who was as I've mentioned many times before, my grandfather's sister married a man who was a fire chief in Whitman in the 1920s. I can remember visiting their house. It's in the corner of Dyer and South Avenue. His name was Dyer, which is a famous name in history in this area. That the myth is that Christopher Dyer from Weymouth was the first non-Native American born in this area. It's maybe a myth, because some people have said that it isn't true, but whatever. And so we had this sort of a connection. When I was moving back, I grew up in Weymouth, and when we were moving back to this area, my mother had a cousin who was a real estate agent who helped me find a house. The first place I thought of looking, coming back from Pennsylvania, was Easton. And that dream ended very quickly when I noticed the price of houses. And she found us a very nice house on Jerome Street, 74 Jerome Street. And it was a ranch on a slab down near the end of the street, near the railroad tracks, beautiful woods behind us, and it was perfect. And we had a little baby girl. That's basically why we moved. We became parents of a baby. And why was Whitman also interesting to us or important to us? Well, since I was 10 years old, my father and mother would take my brothers and sisters and I to the Toll House for a birthday dinner. Whenever one of us turned 10 years old, we would go to the Toll House. For years. I was the first. I was the oldest child, so I was the first one that did that. So we knew that, and so we had that connection. And so we had this little Whitman thing going on, and I found it was a really nice place to be, a nice little town to be in. When it became time for my daughter to go to school, to go to kindergarten, we were kind of concerned that she had to walk up the street, which wasn't a very long street, it's a dead-end street, to catch the bus. So we contacted the school department, and this is important. The superintendent of schools, who didn't know us from a hole in the ground, obviously, he took it upon himself to drive the school bus down the street. He was told that it couldn't turn around, and that's why it didn't go down the street. He drove the bus down the street, turned it around, and found out that it could. And then it would pick the kids up on the street. And I said, my God, what kind of a school system is this? This is terrific. His name was John DaCosta. And so that kind of attracted me to the school system, you know, right away. But at any rate, as time went on in the early 1980s, I, for some reason, joined the Historical Commission and met a man by the name of Russell Gardner. Russell Gardner was traced his heritage back to the Mayflower on one side of his family and the Wampanoags on the other side. He lived on Winter Street. And he's the one that disabused me of the fact that the Dyers were really the first non-Americans, non-Native Americans. And that taught me a little bit. Time marches on. I'm working in Massasoit. Eventually, a man by the name of Charlie Wall becomes the president of Massasoit. I'm working for him as a dean at the time, and in charge of his inauguration. And Charlie was from Plymouth. And so I said, well, I met this guy named Russell Gardner. He might be maybe be interesting to have him get involved in your inauguration. And so we involved Russell. And Russell came to his inauguration dressed in his Wampanoag garb, sat on the stage, and he spread whatever it is, some kind of incense on the stage, and that was part of the ceremony. It was remarkable. He sat right beside me on the stage. Unfortunately, I don't think he ever washed his uniform, so it was kind of a long ceremony. but it was a terrific ceremony. Russell used to say the Lord's Prayer in the Wampanoag dialogue at every single Thanksgiving Day down in Plymouth. And it was just, so we're starting to get this Whitman, Plymouth, Massasoit connection, and that was kind of important to me. After I got off the Historical Commission, I met Leslie Cohen and became interested on the school committee and joined the K-8 school committee. She was the chair. Leslie Cohen was the wife of Dr. Cohen, the dentist, our dentist. It's a great school committee. And it was a great experience to be in the K-8 school committee. Enemies of the school committee in those days were the finance committee, who never wanted to give us any money, and the selectmen, who always kind of aligned with the finance committee. And I can remember having to have all kinds of fights, you know, on town hall floor in those days. So it was, I was a school guy. I was probably doing what they were doing at the town meeting the other night, you know, fighting for the schools. What we'd try to do is pack the town meeting with school people, and a lot of times we won. But it was certainly an interesting time.
What made you cross the threshold to be a selectman?
Well, stayed on that school committee until on the K-8 committee until we merged. And that was a little bit of kind of a debate, whether we should merge with Hanson or not. But we received incentive money from the state, which actually saved the school system, saved the towns, that incentive money. That incentive money eventually kind of dissipated some. But altogether, from K through 8 and K through 12, I spent 14 years on the school committee, and some of the time as chair, and that was fun. That was interesting. We still had the same fights, with the finance committee and the select board. I won't go into it, but there were some good battles. And then I don't know why I resigned. I can't remember why I resigned from the school committee then at that time in 1998, but I did. A couple of years later, I was approached by Richard Cole, who was getting off the select board, and he asked me if I would run to be on the select board. So I said, yeah, I did, and I ran. And in, I think it was 2002, I was elected to the select board, and I was been elected ever since. And most of the time, I was the chair. And my perception of the whole process changed from being on the select board. But also the relationship between the finance committee and the select board and the school district subtly changed over that period of time too. And part of it was I attribute to Steve Boyce's role on the finance committee, Bill Capozzi's role on the finance committee, Frank Lynham's role as a town administrator, and there was more cooperation. As a select board chair, it was easy to look forward to. It was fairly easy to look forward to town meetings, knowing that these people were working hard every single day to come up with budgets that made sense, that were fair to everyone. Our town values its children and its schools. Our town values its obviously, and we had a town survey done a number of years ago that proved this. Excuse me. And it values its Department of Public Works. It wants its streets cleaned. It values its police department. It values its fire department. However, it also values low taxes, and that's the clincher right there. And these people work hard to satisfy everybody. Sometimes they don't receive the credit for it that they deserve. I have seen when Bill Capozzi and Frank Lynham were working on the budget together, I was totally confident that what was going to come out of that work was the best that the town could get at the time. When Kathy Otina and Mary Beth Carter are working on a budget, I'm totally confident that they're coming up with the best that can be come up with, given that the town wants high service but low taxes.
Public service honestly can be very demanding. And sometimes can be thankless. What has kept you motivated throughout the years, whether you're serving on a school committee, serving on as a selectman, or on the select board?
Well, part of it is when I was at Massasoit, I've worked on strategic planning. I've been the chairperson. I've been the person in charge of grievance hearings. I've run a lot of meetings. I find that I enjoy running meetings. I like meetings that are crisp. I like meetings that are
efficient.
Yeah, crisp, efficient, and kind. And I enjoy doing that. I don't like it when they get out of control. I don't like it when people are being mean to each other. And I found that over the course of around 40 years here that I've tried to do that here, and I enjoy that.
Let's reflect over the years that you've spent, being a town leader. What accomplishments are you proud of that you and whatever committee you've on or board you've been on, you've been able to, from concept to having it passed or having something enacted, you can say, we worked hard to get that done. I can think of a few things. New police station.
Well, the
DPW building.
New high school.
New high school.
There's a model high school. New high school. There's the new police station. The DPW, which was way overdue. I can remember one night. It was I was teaching a class, an evening class at Massasoit on a town meeting night. So I wasn't able to get. This is when I was on the school committee, I think, and I wasn't able to get to the meeting, to the town meeting, until after the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee had its own meeting, and the school committee had its own little private meeting ahead of that. So I get here, and I'm told that they had voted to, if I remember this correctly, and my memory isn't as good as it used to be, that they had, excuse me, voted to, I think it was close, it might have been close the Park Avenue School, and get rid of a couple of teams at the middle school to save money. And my kids are still in school. And the schools have been great for my two kids. So I had to announce that as the chair of the school committee that they had voted to do this. And so I went up to the mic and I said, as chair of the school committee, my responsibility is to tell you that they have voted to make these cuts. I said, however, as a citizen of the town and as a parent of a couple of people in the school system, I have to say that I don't agree. And I gave them some reasons why. The town meeting voted not to follow what their recommendation and to vote differently. It wasn't because of me. It was because the school people had packed the building, and that was a victory. It was beautiful. I remember that. Another thing that I remember was, and this is kind of interesting, in the very first class, I think I've told you this story perhaps, but in the very first class that I taught in Massasoit, there was an older woman in the back of the classroom who, when I put my name on the board, Kowalski, she said, "Oh, you're that Pollock that just moved into Whitman?" And I said, yes. She said, I think my daughter delivers newspapers to you. We don't get too many of your kind around here. I said, oh, okay. Years later, I'm on the school committee, and I'm arguing with a guy named Dave Jablonski, who was the chair of the finance committee at the time, about how to pay about how we're going to adjust the taxes and all that. And I started laughing, and he says, "What are you laughing at?" And I says, somewhere here, either watching on television or in the back of the audience, is this woman watching two Pollocks figure out how to spend her taxes, and I think that's a riot. And as a coda to that, confirmation at the Catholic Church around that time, when people were picking up their being confirmed, three names read in a row were Konarski, Kowalski, and Krajewski were taken over. A couple of years later, that was when my daughter was getting confirmed. A couple of years later, you had Kowalski and Krasanik at the same time. And now we have Aiden Milk, who's the pastor of the church.
Right.
So we're taking over.
Very interesting. What do you hope residents remember most about your leadership style and your service to the town?
Well, I hope they remember that I was there when they needed when I was supposed to be there, and I hope they remember that I was kind, and recognized everyone, no matter what their attitude was. An example. Dan Salvucci has sat next to me for 20 of those years on the Board of Selectmen. He and I agree on absolutely nothing as far as politics are concerned. But I know I can always trust Dan to do what he says he's going to do, and to act like he says he's going to act, and to volunteer for a million committees. He's a good guy to have beside me. No matter, the thing about local government is that Republican, Democrat, left, right, shouldn't be, and sometimes, luckily, isn't as important as it is elsewhere.
What do you see the biggest challenges facing Whitman over the next several years as you step away?
We need an override. We need some sort of an override to be able to afford the services that our town deserves.
If I can follow that up, because I've had several spirited conversations with one Richard Rosen.
Yes.
About Prop 2.5. We, a few months ago, talked about why we should preserve Prop 2.5, because there are some folks around the Commonwealth of Massachusetts who think that maybe we should eliminate the law. As of late, I actually had a conversation with Mr. Rosen, and he is a proponent more so now of modifying Prop 2.5. Maybe it's a Prop 3 or Prop 3.5. Do you think that maybe it might be time to modify that law from 1982?
I do, and I'm glad you mentioned Mr. Rosen's name. Mr. Rosen is one of the most valuable citizens that we have. He has done as much, if not more, for this town than anybody that I know. When you think about Winterfest, when you think about raising money.
You served on that committee with him for 20 years.
Yeah.
Something I should have, and I say this all the time. It was supposed to be 1 year, right?
Think about the cookie drop.
Oh, yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
Cold as heck.
Richie and I came up with the idea for the cookie drop. I used to go down to Chatham on New Year's Eve with some regularity, and I used to watch them drop this metal fish, okay, at New Year's. And I says, Whitman ought to drop something at New Year's Eve. But what are they going to drop? What is Whitman famous for? They're famous for Cardinal Spellman. They're famous for the Toll House cookie. And there's one other thing that they're famous for. I think it was, yes, it was Paul Revere. Not Paul Revere. There's one other thing that's...
A bell?
Yeah.
A bell forged here or something like that?
Yeah. Well, you can't drop a cardinal. Although maybe today you could drop a pope. No, you can't drop a cardinal. But you could drop a cookie. And then the Norfolk Aggie made the cookie, for us, and it only lasted 2 years because it was really cold, probably, but it would have been nice if we could have kept that up.
I technically think it was South Shore Technical.
South Shore Tech. I'm sorry, South Shore Tech.
That's
right.
all good.
Yeah.
We'll get a little up to Norfolk Aggie as well. We have enough time for 2 more questions here.
I got it.
And these are important. If you could give some advice for anybody who is a resident or maybe a future candidate who might be thinking about getting involved with their town, regardless of the board or the committee, whether they want to aspire to be on the top governing board and be a select board person or serve on the historical commission, what advice would you give them about getting involved?
Be willing to spend some time. Be willing to keep an open mind. be willing to avoid looking at social media as much as you possibly can, because that will drive you absolutely crazy. Social media has done, it's almost ruined the pleasure of working in local government and on committees. It's just, it gives people the opportunity to say whatever kind of mean or nasty things they want to say with impunity. And it's made a huge change. Yeah, and that's what's made the last 3 years of my career distasteful at times.
Yeah. Well, there's no repercussions. You can easily post a negative comment. You can create multiple profiles and attack an individual, and then easily just shut off your device without any repercussion. If you said some of those things to an individual, who knows what kind of a spirited conversation, debate would ensue, and you don't have that. There's not like a way to be able to get back.
Yeah,
at that person.
don't. Best advice is don't react to social media the way that the person that's writing it wants you to.
Okay. Well, how do you plan on staying involved with the community, even though you're stepping away from the select board? You got.
I'll be paying attention.
Okay.
I'll be paying attention. I thought about that recently. How am I going to watch a meeting or be at a meeting and shut up? I remember when Sean Kane, before he became a select person, how he used to be out in the audience and he'd give his opinion about something, and I nicknamed him Citizen Kane and all of that. I can't become a Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kowalski.
Yeah, well, Citizen Kane is, Citizen Kane. But because I can't see myself doing that. But I'll stay engaged. I mean, it's my town. It's my town. I love this. I love this town.
Finally, with the last couple of moments we have here, what message would you like to leave with the residents who have supported you and voted for you throughout the years, and who have supported your service to the town?
Just thank you very much. And it's hard to believe that actually, was it eight terms maybe? I've been elected. That's crazy. I mean, it's wonderful. It's wonderful, and I appreciate the support, and it's felt right here very deeply.
Maybe we'll have you on from time to time. You and I can kind of talk about some of the things that are going on in town. You can kind of give your unabashed thoughts on things that are going on.
That'd be fun. And Kevin, I have to thank you too. And I've thanked you off camera before, but it's I've always felt comfortable speaking to you, because I know that I'm going to come across not as unintelligent when I speak with you, because you encourage conversation that I can feel free to make, and you won't edge me on like some people might.
Well, I enjoy what I do. The idea is for me to have a good conversation and share that information with our viewers. I've done it going on more than 20 years being part of this organization, and I've been privileged to be able to speak with a lot of great people like yourself.
And I was approached recently by another person who works here about wondering if I want to get into radio classics kind of stuff. You and I have talked about that. Maybe that's the next level, the next step. Maybe we can start to think about organizing something. It's not that difficult to do.
More than welcome. If I'd be willing to work with you.
That would be.
I know it's something that I have brought up to you.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's others who have approached you and go.
And maybe we'll have some time.
Okay.
I think we can wrangle some people in and do some work. It'd be good to be Sam Spade again. Thank you.
No one better than you when it comes to Sam Spade.
Oh, well, I don't know.
I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank you for the conversation. And this isn't our last conversation by any means, but I want to thank you and thank you for the service to the town of Whitman over the years, and look forward to seeing you around the way.
Okay. Thank you, Kev.
You got it. We want to thank you for tuning into a program like CrossTalk. Again, the idea is to better inform you about some of the things that are going on and help you learn about the two communities that we proudly serve, Whitman and Hanson. And until our next conversation, have a great day.